Have you ever really considered that the tiny minerals in your food might have played like a starring role, a really fundamental role in shaping your DNA?
It sounds almost like science fiction, doesn't it?
Yeah, like a whisper from deep time. The idea that something, so subtle as a micronutrient could leave such a lasting imprint on humanity's genetic code, like literally sculpting us.
Uh-huh. Over millennia.
Well, get ready, because this deep dive is all about a groundbreaking new study. It reveals exactly how these crucial, often overlooked dietary elements uh, profoundly influenced human genetic evolution right across the globe.
Still a big one.
It really is. Today, we're unpacking this fascinating research led by Jasmin Rees, published in the American Journal of Human Genetics. And our mission for you, our listener, is to understand the, frankly, surprising ways our ancestors adapted to the presence or, maybe more often, the absence of essential minerals.
Right. The scarcity often being the key driver.
Exactly. We'll explore how the very environments they lived in quite literally became sculptors of their genes, and, importantly, what this deep, ancient story means for us right here, today.
It's a foundational idea, really, because at their core, micronutrients are essential minerals. We're talking iron, calcium, zinc.
The ones you see on food labels but maybe don't think much about.
Precisely. Our bodies only need tiny amounts, traces, really, but they are absolutely vital. They orchestrate everything from metabolism and development right through to our immune system.
Unsung heroes, almost.
You could definitely call them that, facilitating countless critical biological processes.
So they aren't the big energy providers like fats or carbs. What are they actually doing for us then? Why so critical in such tiny amounts?
Well, the key is their catalytic role. They act as cofactors for enzymes. They enable nerve transmission, build strong bones, even regulate gene expression.
Wow.
They're the fine-tuning mechanisms, the spark plugs maybe, ensuring our complex biological machinery runs smoothly. And what's really fascinating here is how their availability in food links back to the soil.
Right, where the food grows.
Exactly. And soil composition varies incredibly widely. Different countries, different continents, completely different mineral profiles for our ancestors, before modern farming and global shipping.
They ate locally, completely locally.
I had to. And this created consistent environmental pressures. If the soil where you lived lacked, say, iodine, your diet would lack it, generation after generation.
So it's like this constant low-level or sometimes high-level challenge, a test the environment keeps throwing at you, forcing an adaptation over generations, like the body finding a workaround.
That's a great way to put it, a genetic workaround. Consider the historical problem of goiter, that visible neck swelling from an enlarged thyroid.
You see pictures.
Right. It was rampant in places like African rainforests, for example. The soil there is just naturally poor in iodine. For those communities, long before supplements existed.
They wouldn't have even known what iodine was.
That's not a clue. So this wasn't just an inconvenience. It was a severe environmental challenge. It could impact health, fertility, survival itself. When these deficiencies were severe and prolonged, or sometimes, interestingly, even chronic surpluses, they acted as this powerful selective pressure.
Pushing the genes.
Switching the genes, exactly. Guiding adaptations over countless generations. Favoring individuals whose genes just happened to let them cope better. Those folks were more likely to survive, have kids, pass on those advantageous variations.
And gradually, the population's genetic makeup shifts.
Precisely. It changes.
Which brings us right to this study by Jasmin Rees and her team.
Yeah.
It feels groundbreaking because they didn't just look at one or two examples, did they? They went for the big picture, the global scope of this micronutrient influence. That's ambitious.
Oh, incredibly ambitious. The study zeroed in on 276 specific genes. Genes known to be involved in how our bodies absorb, transport, or use 13 essential minerals. Key players like iron, calcium, zinc, selenium.
Okay.
And to get that global picture, they used genetic data from over 900 people across 40 really diverse populations from all over the world.
How do they actually spot the genetic changes, the adaptations?
They used two clever genetic detective methods. One is called FST. It's good for spotting the bigger genetic differences between populations that build up over time, like comparing genetic fingerprints, sort of.
Okay, population versus population.
Right. The other method, called relate, is different. It looks within a population's history to see if a specific gene variant shot up in frequency really fast, like it suddenly became super important for survival.
Oh, like a must-have gene suddenly emerging.
Exactly. And doing this kind of analysis, this comprehensive global scale across so many minerals, genes, and diverse groups, it really hadn't been done before.
And the main takeaway, what did they generally find?
It was genuinely eye-opening. They found evidence of genetic adaptation for every single mineral they studied in at least one population somewhere.
Every single one. Wow.
Every one. And this impact was global, not just a few isolated cases. It really hammers home that micronutrients have been a much more important selective force in recent human evolution than we previously recognized.
More important than we thought.
Definitely. And another key point, these adaptations were mostly oligogenic.
Sorry, what was that?
Oligogenic. It just means selection tended to focus on a few key genes for each mineral, rather than making tiny changes across lots and lots of genes. And these adaptations were often local, tailored to specific environments.
Okay, focused and local adaptations.
Yeah.
It makes sense. This global map really comes alive when we look at specific examples, doesn't it? Let's talk iodine. The study points to the Maya in Central America.
Yes, a striking example.
They live in iodine-poor regions, and boom, the study finds strong genetic changes in their iodine regulation genes. And this lines up with high rates of goiter, still seen there today.
It does, and this is where it gets even more compelling. The study connects these adaptations to this really interesting hypothesis. Could these genetic changes, driven by generations of low iodine, actually be linked to the distinctive short stature seen in populations like the Maya?
Wait, short stature, linked to iodine.
Potentially, yes. We see similar patterns, short stature in Central African rainforest hunter-gatherers like the Mbuti and Biaka. They also live in iodine-deficient areas.
Even if they don't always have the high goiter rates.
Yeah, sometimes lower rates than their taller neighbors, actually. The idea is adapting to chronic iodine scarcity might have favored genetic profiles that perhaps optimized resource allocation, maybe resulting in smaller body size as a kind of evolutionary trade-off.
So adapting to low iodine might physically make a population shorter over time. Could height sometimes be an evolutionary outcome of mineral scarcity?
That's the question the hypothesis raises. It's fascinating. Iodine is crucial for thyroid hormones, which control growth and metabolism.
Wow.
So in severely deficient environments, maybe genetic variants evolved that allowed people to function okay, perhaps with a lower metabolic rate or altered growth signals, just to conserve that precious little iodine.
And that might lead to a sort of genetic set point for being shorter, as a trade-off for survival.
That's the line of thinking, a testament to the body's incredible ability to adapt, even if it means altering something as fundamental as stature.
Truly incredible. But it wasn't just about deficiency, right? The study also found adaptations to too much.
Yeah.
Surpluses.
Yes, exactly. Which is another layer to this. Look at some South Asian populations living in areas with naturally very high magnesium in the soil.
High magnesium. Okay.
The research found genetic adaptations there too, in genes like MECOM and FXYD2. The speculation is these changes might have actually protected people from magnesium toxicity.
Which is a real thing, magnesium poisoning.
Oh yes, it can be severe, nausea, cardiac issues. So this shows adaptation working both ways, scarcity and excess. And get this, for an extra layer of evolutionary intrigue. The MECOM gene in the Brahwi people, in modern-day Pakistan, it might show signs of archaic introgression. Meaning the helpful gene variant might actually have been inherited from Neanderthals.
Wow. Neanderthal DNA, helping protect against magnesium overload. That's mind-blowing. Okay, let's switch to zinc. That one really stood out, you said.
Right.
Widespread adaptation.
Yeah, zinc was remarkable. Really strong, geographically widespread evidence. 28 out of the 40 populations showed significant genetic changes related to zinc.
That's what? Over 2/3. Huge.
It is huge. The study highlights genes like SLC38A9, SLC39A4, SLC39A11, GPR39. Many of these are zinc transporters. They control how zinc gets into and out of our cells.
Affecting immunity, DNA repair, all sorts.
All sorts. And it's thought this widespread adaptation might have started in an ancestral non-African population, maybe somewhere like the Middle East, where soils are known to be very zinc deficient.
Like a ground zero for zinc adaptation.
Potentially. We see modern examples too, like the Micronutrients in Pakistan, who still face widespread zinc deficiency. But there's also a unique twist with one gene, SLC39A4. in West Africa.
What's different there?
There, the adaptation might be linked less to diet and more to fighting off pathogens, maybe driving a lower zinc uptake in that region, perhaps as a defense against infections like malaria that might use zinc.
So complex. Different pressures, different solutions.
Yeah.
Okay, from zinc to selenium.
Mm.
What's the story there? Especially in places like East Asia with known health issues linked to low selenium.
Right, selenium offers another compelling chapter. In parts of China, there's a well-known selenium-deficient soil belt. Historically, this led to endemic diseases, Kishan disease, which affects the heart.
Cardiomyopathy, right?
Yes, and Cushin-Beck disease, a severe bone disorder. And just as you'd expect, the study found oligogenic adaptation, those focused changes, again, in several selenium-linked genes like SGCD, AKAP6, PRKG1, KCNMA1 in those East Asian groups, fine-tuning how they use the little selenium they got.
Adapting to survive those diseases.
Likely. But what's also fascinating is that African populations also show selenium adaptation, but using completely different genes, like LRP8, which is key for getting selenium to organs when supplies are low.
So same problem, low selenium, but different genetic fixes evolved in different places.
Exactly. Different adaptive pathways depending on their unique genetic background and environment. Evolution isn't one size fits all.
That's such a key point. Now, thinking about big dietary shifts, the Neolithic Revolution, the move to farming cereals, which lowered iron and calcium intake, did the study confirm adaptations mainly from that period, or is it older?
That's a great question. Well, yes, you do see some recent adaptations possibly linked to that Neolithic agricultural shift.
Some genetic tweaks for the new farm diet.
Right. But actually, the strongest signals of positive selection for many iron and calcium genes, think ATP2B2, FTMT, HIF1A, often seem to line up with much earlier events, like the initial migrations of humans into new environments in Eurasia.
Before farming really took hold.
Way before, potentially. It suggests that the soil geology, the minerals naturally present or absent as people move into new lands, was already driving adaptation for iron and calcium long before agriculture became the dominant lifestyle.
So it pushes that timeline back considerably. Our genes were already responding to minerals in the ground long before we started cultivating specific crops.
It certainly looks that way for many of these genes. It's an older, deeper story.
This is genuinely mind-blowing stuff, connecting geology, ancient diets, deep human history right to our DNA. But, okay, bring it back to today. What does this all mean for us, the listener? How does this ancient history connect to modern life?
Yeah, that's the crucial question, isn't it? Understanding these adaptations helps us identify which populations today might be most vulnerable to micronutrient deficiencies now.
Because the world has changed.
Massively. Climate change, intensive farming, they're depleting soil nutrients globally. This affects something like 2 billion people worldwide. And what was once your ancestors' genetic solution for their local environment
Might not work anymore.
Yeah.
Or could even be a disadvantage now.
Exactly. It could become a disadvantage in our rapidly changing world.
So we're potentially living with an evolutionary mismatch. Our genes are tuned for a past environment, not the present one. What does that look like practically?
Precisely that term, evolutionary mismatch. Many populations globally are encountering nutrient levels too high or too low that their genes just aren't adapted for. Or, like you said, they carry adaptations that are now actually detrimental.
Can you give an example?
Sure. An adaptation that helped maximize iron absorption in an ancient iron-poor environment. Today, with iron-fortified foods everywhere, that same genetic tendency might increase the risk of iron overload for some people.
Okay. Hey.
And think about global migration. People move to totally new nutritional landscapes, eating globally sourced foods, not local ones their ancestors evolved with. So this knowledge from the study, it's a vital first step.
For what?
For informing public health strategies. For genomic medicine. It helps us understand existing health disparities that might have roots in these ancient adaptations meeting modern life. It's about maybe eventually tailoring nutrition and healthcare to our deeper genetic blueprints.
What an absolutely incredible journey we've taken. From, tiny minerals in the dirt, literally, to the fabric of our DNA. It really hammers home how fundamental geology and diet were in shaping us globally. More profoundly than I think most of us ever realized.
It really reframes things, doesn't it?
It does. The idea that every environmental shift, every change in what our ancestors ate left its mark, altering the blueprint. It's just astounding.
And perhaps that leaves us, and you listening, with a final thought to ponder. Given that your own ancestors adapted over millennia to their specific nutritional world, how might your unique genetic heritage influence your relationship with the food you eat today?
Hmm.
What hidden strength or perhaps vulnerabilities might be tucked away in your genes, echoes of ancient mineral landscapes? And looking forward, what uncharted nutritional territories might future generations face as our planet keeps changing, demanding perhaps new kinds of genetic resilience from us all?